So the next segment is going to be me. You're going to have me for 20 minutes. So let me share my presentation. I'm going to be talking about hemp for the next 15-20 minutes. Let me know if my slides don't move. That's a major fail sometimes. Okay, so hemp is amazing, and I've been doing a couple of big hemp projects in the last three or 4 years. So extremely honoured to doing this segment. It's an ever-changing market. If you've seen some of my other hemp talks, they're all slightly different because it's really changing. Every 6 months, every 3 months, there's something new happening in the world of hemp. But let's go through the beginning, just so we're quite clear. Hemp, obviously, it's been around for millions and millions of years. It's one of the oldest known fibers that we know, the man. We've actually been cultivating it and using it earlier than actually cotton. So there's archaeological evidence going back over 10,000 years. Andrew's presentation about cotton was about 7,000 years. So we've been using it a bit more longer. In Europe, we only started using it quite recently, only about 1,200 BC or so. But the earliest evidence of hemp being found has been in Mesopotamia, sort of like Iraq, Iran, that sort of region. Our Chinese friends are the ones that are the specialists that are actually using it. They're the first ones to sort of use it quite heavily. Early examples are actually paper. They used the first paper known to man was made out of hemp, which is quite sort of cool. It was actually this emperor here. He made it law that everyone had to grow hemp. So it was a really big thing. And we've been, it's always been known for its strength, and it grows pretty much it's all everywhere as well. In Europe, we kind of know hemp for its, I don't know, artisanal kind of things, for its rope and string, but also we know of course it was used for the sailors. It's used for sailors like outfits, also for the rigging, all the sailcloths. So it was used for that kind of thing, and that's kind of what we know it for. But actually, we were making and using hemp for lots of different items, and it's something that's actually ingrained in our DNA. Actually, the demand of hemp was quite big, and also parts of England and also Europe are actually named after hemp. So one early example is Hampshire in England is named after hemp, and even King Henry VIII, he made it law that everyone had to grow hemp. So it was such a big thing, and there's lots of Celtic and Anglo-Saxon words that are also sort of derived from hemp too. So just a little bit of a context there. So quite sort of fun. Now, what's happened recently is obviously all of a sudden we weren't using hemp. So basically, it's interesting what's happened. It's an interesting story. Hemp, obviously, hemp and cannabis are extremely linked. You can't, if they look identical, they're from the same family. Obviously, with hemp, you can't get high. Can't get high off hemp. It hasn't got any of the THC stuff in it. But basically, when cannabis got banned in the 20s, hemp also got banned with the same brush, and which is a bit unfortunate. And it's mostly actually because of propaganda, really, and some propaganda from our cotton friends too. So there was lots of adverts like these, which I think are amazing. And if you're doing a hemp-based project, why don't you use graphics like this to show off your product? It's unbelievably sort of hilarious. But basically, a lot of propaganda in the 20s and 30s that basically ruined its chances for hemp, and it was a bit of a shame, really. But luckily for us, it's coming back again, so it's quite exciting. Obviously, there are different types of hemp. So the hemp that you would come across in a ball of string, or you'd find in an artisanal shop, would most likely be a wet spun hemp. It's like a kind of like a linen, scratchy kind of, it's that kind of the stuff you use in gardening. But there's a newer type of hemp that was invented in the 80s, which is called the cottonized hemp, and it's actually a mixture of cotton and hemp, so it's a little bit more softer. So this was invented in the 80s, and if there's any denim or any fabrics that you come across recently, they most likely would have been made out of this type of hemp and not the wet spun, even though you still can get the wet spun. So when you're in a position of power and you're picking fabrics, definitely ask the question: is this a wet spun hemp or is this a cottonized hemp? They're the questions you need to ask. Where does the hemp fiber actually come from? It actually doesn't come from the leaves; it comes from the stalk. So you can actually see it's the stalk itself, and it's pretty awesome, really. So, and the great thing is, the great thing about it is that it takes such a little amount of space to grow, so you can have loads of it, and you can take quite a lot of material from the same amount that you would do for another type of crop. Obviously, there is a type of a glue involved, a natural sort of linen. So this is the process where it's a bit more murky how some of our industry friends are extracting the fiber. So this is where we need to ask proper questions. Quick thing also, you know, it's known that pretty much everything from a hemp plant can be used. You know, there's a joke that there's over 50,000 like uses of it, and kind of true, maybe a bit of a misleading marketing thing, but pretty much everything from the stalk to the leaves can be extracted to make oil, or the roots can be used too. So for even like sort of like medicine sort of purposes, but it's very good for crop sort of rotation. It takes care of the soil. It's pretty like remarkable if it's done like sort of like correctly, and especially in a regenerative sort of way for farming. You know, as I said, it was around the 1700s or so where cotton became a lot more popular. And one of the reasons why it became very sort of popular also, there's two reasons really, is one for the staple length. So basically cotton, as like Miguel and even Michael have said about staple lengths, are very important. The longer staple is considered to be a much more luxurious fiber. That's why like Egyptian cotton is very much like, ooh, amazing. But hemp comes in a very long fiber. It's a bit more irregular. You have to cut it down to size. There's a slight process involved. Obviously, a lot of the machinery and looms that you spin on have to be a certain fiber length to do it. Obviously, you can there are other machines involved, but there is a slight process to get these fibers to the correct length before you can spin them. And of course, there's the whole process as well of getting rid of the glue that's inside it too, which it's a bit, there's a mechanical version and there's a chemical version of it. And some of our Chinese friends have been doing both. Our Pakistani friends are also doing both. And some people aren't being that transparent about what they're doing. Obviously, I would personally prefer a mechanical process. I don't want to use extra chemicals to extract a yarn. So that's the thing. They're the kind of questions we need to be asking and pushing the suppliers when we're picking like fabrics to find out this kind of thing. Slavery was one of the main issues actually why cotton became a lot more popular, because of its artificial pricing. And that's the reason why hemp, you know, became not less important. Cotton just completely overtook, and a lot of artificial pricing as well. Some of it even related to like today, really. So, you know, I personally believe, you know, some of these fibers that we're getting, you know, the amount of water use and everything else, that it should be more expensive than what we're buying it for. That's just a personal opinion. Hemp pretty much can be grown any type of soil. It can be grown all over the world. Hence why it's also called a weed. And it's grown in all 50 states of like America. So it kind of proves it can be grown pretty much sort of like everywhere. Where is it grown? It's pretty much grown in the countries that are in green. Pakistan also, which is, you know, where is it? It's like around here. That should also be colored green, but it's not colored yet. But basically last year it became, the government in Pakistan made it completely legal to grow hemp. Obviously you have to have a like certificate. So we're going to see an explosion of hemp in the next few years, because Pakistan make a lot of fast fashion, a lot of denim. So if they're on the hemp game, it means a lot of denim guys are going to be on the hemp game too. A little fact here, it's quite interesting actually, because this is just some facts. Now they're very misleading. If you come across any kind of facts like this, you need to have it with a slight pinch of salt, because some of them are misleading. So let's just go through it. These facts are from a like hemp sort of companies. Of course, they're gonna pick an example. So hemp, you know, it does normally take 3 to 4 months to grow. Cotton takes, you know, slightly longer, of course. Doesn't need many pesticides. You know, for sure, the amount of square footage if you're growing hemp versus cotton, you can get a lot more yield from hemp. That's interesting. The water usage as well, it's kind of true, but this is slightly misleading. Obviously, the figure of 3,700 liters per gene, it depends where you're making a gene. Is it in America? Is it South America? Is it Pakistan? Is it Australia? Is it in Europe? The water usage is slightly different. So Levi's have given a fact here. You know, they say that more than two-thirds of the water in a pair of jeans is roughly in the growing stage. So if you do move over to a hemp or something, then of course you are going to save water. Whether or not you can use this actual figure, I'm not too sure. But definitely, there's a lot of misinformation about hemp figures and everything else. So just definitely take it with a grain of salt and do your fact finding and get extra information. But yeah, it's a very interesting fact though, but I just wanted to say a slight placeholder for slightly misleading, but slightly true too. There's an urban myth as well that the earliest denim garment, which was a duck canvas that was patented in 1873, May 20th, 73. So this is the actual patent of the actual jean that Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis did. It was a duck canvas and it was brown. It wasn't blue. So many of us denim insiders, denim historians like myself and designers, most probably think it was a hemp. Now, Levi's themselves are saying it isn't. They've actually said it. But to be honest, they had a fire in 1906, the big San Francisco fire, but they lost their building, lost their archive, lost everything. So there's no historical evidence that it can't be. So you never know. Someone might find it down a gold mine and do some analysis. It might be hemp. So, but our friends at Levi's are saying it's not currently at the moment. But I think it might. I think it might be. So just a little bit of process about how it's made. Obviously, you can get the wet spun hemp or hemp itself when it's actually like sort of like extracted. You can do it in many different ways, but it is quite scratchy at the beginning. And what they do in the past, they used to just they used to cut it, lay it down on the ground, and over certain months they will be able to take the bast fiber and they're able to take it from it. Obviously, we can't do that for months and months and months. So there is a mechanical and there's a chemical version of extracting the yarn. So this is the important thing that many of our supplier friends aren't being that transparent about yet. And also, there isn't a true organic hemp yet, a certified one. There is many different claims of different ways of C2C, and some people are claiming that it's like organic, but to be honest, not yet. And I think the Transformers Foundation are looking very heavily at it and looking at all of the claims. But basically, after this process, it's then extracted, then it's made in bale form, then it's pretty much the same as any other fiber. It goes through the spinning, carding, drawing, roving, that same process that you do to spin and spin, twist and twist, stretch and stretch, and to get rid of any improve many of the dust and particles and dirt from the yarn. As I said, there's two different kinds. There's a wet spun hemp. So this is the kind of one that you would find in a gardener's shop or in string, that's definitely wet spun. And you get the newer cottonized hemp, which actually, to be honest, it feels just like cotton. It's quite remarkable, only because it has got some cotton in it. So there you go, slightly misleading, but they have mixed it in. The interesting thing about this cottonized hemp, it's like it's both bacteria and like sort of it helps with like it's basically antibacterial, UV light. It's perfect for spinning, perfect for partnering with other types of fibers. This is the fiber you're seeing. If you see any denim that's got hemp in it, it's most likely this. There's a short video, it's about 1 minute, 30 seconds. If Joanne could kindly play it for us and see back in 1.5 minutes.
This is Gen H. It's the brand new outcome of technology, biology, and mostly nature. In other words, a combination of our latest technique and the oldest fiber used by mankind. Hemp is a sustainable raw material, environmentally responsible and biodegradable. Hemp requires much less water, grows very quickly, and uses minimal nutrients from the soil. It requires no synthetic fertilizers or GMO seeds. For over 6,000 years, hemp has been a miracle crop, and at Ulta, we believe it will be again. Well, okay, what makes Gen H so special? It's naturally antibacterial, antimicrobial, biodegradable, and now with our alchemy finish, it's super soft and gentle. Sustainability is business as usual at Ulta. We are the eco-modern generation who embrace past and present, conventional and unconventional, technology and nature. We are long-term advocates, and we see hemp as a vital link in the chain, moving towards a cleaner and greener future for denim. Join us with Gen H, our newest collection made with hemp.
Wasn't that amazing? Let me just share my presentation again. Super. Hopefully you guys can all see that. If you can't, please let me know. So Orta, unbelievable denim mill. They actually are sponsoring the denim project at Ravensbourne. So there might be some good qualities of hemp coming through. I've actually been involved with hemp for a long time in my actual like career. I recently did a 100% hemp collection for a denim mill called Navina. They're also sponsoring the Ravensbourne like project, which is really cool. But hemp, the denim and hemp is a natural partner, really. And just to give you an example, Levi's, they did a collection back in 1999. They called it the Levi's Red Collection. It's extremely famous for not only changing the way we design, but how we think about design. Groundbreaking, actually. And they used a TENCEL lysol and they used the hemp. So this is the hemp version they use. And this is from a Japanese mill. It was very, very expensive back then, probably like 15 to 16 pounds a meter. And it was a 40% hemp blend. And if you come across any fabrics that have got hemp in them, they're roughly at the 20–40% range. One of the reasons is actually you can get 100% hemp garment. It's just very expensive. It's just too expensive, especially for the high street. So this was an artisanal project. They did it for this, and it looked awesome. And it was a beautiful selvage as well. I also did another collection quite recently for like TENCEL, and it was a hemp-based like collection called Bast Recast, and that was a hemp blend with like TENCEL. So it was an example of doing a very authentic collection with hemp. So very honored to do that as well. And hemp is amazing. And the fact is, every single denim mill in the planet and fabric mill is researching and developing hemp. Some of them have even doing it vertically, where they're growing it themselves, or they're buying it from China, or they're buying it from the Benelux region. There's two main places you can get hemp at the moment is in China and in France, Belgium area. Obviously, you can grow it everywhere, but for bigger yields and bigger production. So that's quite cool. And then what are the learnings from it? So obviously, hemp has had a bit of a stop-start, really. Obviously, cotton has been ongoing. Obviously, from the 1700s or so, it became very, very popular. There's been lots of like machinery involved to spin it much more better and more finer. That development has not happened in hemp yet. So a lot of our machine like manufacturers, especially in like Japan and in Europe, they're inventing new ways to extract the fiber for one, and they're inventing new machines to spin it. So definitely in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a lot more softer hemp for sure. But already this cottonized version is pretty amazing as it is for its first go. But definitely there's a lot of learning and a lot of catch up in the world of hemp. As I mentioned, also it is still in the pricey area. Obviously, everyone's pushing ahead, and the more people ask for it, the more designers that use it, the cheaper it's going to actually become, which is quite important. And what are the other benefits? So obviously, it's like antibacterial, antimicrobial, which is really cool. But obviously, something that people don't know about, it takes toxins and metals and horrible stuff out of the soil. It cleans the soil, which is amazing. They planted it all around Chernobyl. So just to give you an example, they planted it all around a like nuclear power plant just to help get the soil back to its natural and healthy thing. So it's pretty amazing. But one of the amazing things actually is 1 acre of hemp is the same as 25 acres of a forest, how much oxygen it actually produces. So if you're a new factory owner, or if you're a new person deciding you're going to offset something, just grow hemp. It's unbelievable, really. So that's my quick presentation over. Hope that was quite fun. I'm going to stop sharing now, and let's see some of the questions I'm going to ask myself. It's going to be quite funny. So let's just see. Okay, so a lovely question about teaching. Thank you so much. I'm sure like Miguel or someone from that foundation will come back to you about that. Emma, thank you for your question. Hemp. A fun fact: hemp is a male cannabis plant, hence why you cannot get high from the bud, but the female plant is the one for such purpose. Thank you very much. I didn't actually know that. How can we get cottonized hemp? Actually, there's a couple of big suppliers in like China that can. There's a company called like Kingdom that supplies it. It's not the biggest one. But yeah, if you're working for a denim mill or something, then you can definitely get it. But for an average student or something, it's very difficult to get the fiber itself actually at this stage. But no, if you work for a denim mill, then yeah, you can definitely order it through and start experimenting. But yeah, it's something that's exploding right now, and everyone's super excited about it. And something that I didn't mention also, hemp. It looks like denim from the 1920s. It's got this characteristic that's been missing for a very long time. And I look at denim garments. I have an archive of more than 2,000 vintage garments, and I look at a hemp denim and I look at old 1920s denim, and wow, the characteristics are kind of the same. And obviously, only because cotton has been like refined, that's why it looks kind of different to how it is now, to how it was back in the past. So hemp is bringing some excitement back in the denim world for lots of creative people, because it's looking quite cool. Will hemp fiber be able to use in a wider global audience, especially as it's more expensive to manufacture than cotton? It's more expensive at the moment. I personally believe within the next 5 to 10 years, it will be definitely going down. There are a lot more people who are growing it. There are a lot, obviously it's going to take some time to get the yields up to understand it. There's going to be a lot more engineering involved regarding getting the machines. It could be anything from 5 to 20 years, but definitely it's not a trend. It's something that everyone's putting all their cards in. So it's very exciting. We just need to be mindful of the processes of how they're extracting that bast fiber. Is it chemical or is it mechanical? They're the questions we need to ask, and that's what we need like transparency on. Places like Canada, where it's the cannabis is cultivated large scale flower harvest, the fiber can be extracted from waste products, i.e. from bud and flower, or is it the stalk? It's the stalk that you get the fiber from. It's not really the leaf, so it's the stalk. Thank you, Bob, for your lovely question. Does hemp contribute to microplastic pollution? I don't believe so. I'm probably not the best person to answer that. From my understanding, no. I don't know, in farming, there's lots of other materials that are used to prop the plants up and do other things as well. And, you know, when you're a farmer, you use other things to cover plants as well. So maybe, but I'm not the right person to answer that question. Sorry. I personally think no. Hemp is a brittle fiber when we compare it to cotton. How can we make it similar feel like cotton? Like Mohammed, it's actually the cottonizing process that people are doing, where they're merging in cotton with it sort of slightly. And that's the process that was invented in the 80s. And that's the process that a lot of Chinese friends and Pakistani friends and even our European friends are like using, the cottonized process. That might be it. Wow, I've done that so fast. Any more questions, please do answer. So I think we're going to go over to our next speaker, which is awesome. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed a little bit about hemp.